AI should be placed at the service of a healthier, more human, more social, and more integral development. Progress marked by the dawn of AI calls for a rediscovery of the importance of community and a renewed commitment to care for communion, a common home entrusted to us by God. To navigate the complexities of AI, governments and businesses must exercise due diligence and vigilance. They must critically evaluate the individual applications of AI in particular contexts in order to determine whether its use promotes human dignity, the vocation of the human person, and the common good. As with many technologies, the effects of the various uses of AI may not always be predictable from their inception. As the application of AI and the social impact become clearer over time, appropriate responses should be made at all levels of society according to the principle of subsidiarity with individual users, families, civil society, corporations, institutions, governments, and international organizations working at their proper levels to ensure that AI is directed to the good of all. Today, there are significant challenges and opportunities when AI is placed within a framework of relational intelligence, where everyone shares responsibility for the integral well-being of others. With these sentiments, I offer my prayerful good wishes for the deliberations of the forum and upon all taking part in it, and I willingly invoke an abundance of divine blessings on all. Signed in the Vatican on the 14th of January, 2025. Pope Francis.
Thank you so much, Your Eminence. That's a beautiful message and something we can all bring back to our home countries and to indeed our families, our human family. We have time for some questions here from the audience. Do we have any questions to start off the morning? Well, let me kick off with the first question, Your Eminence. This message was a beautiful message. It does not come out of nowhere. The Holy Father, the Holy See, the Vatican, you have been working on these issues for some time, whether it be AI or human fraternity. Can you tell us a bit about the journey that the Vatican and you and the Holy Father have had on these intersecting paths that we see here in Davos, whether it be human fraternity, bringing people together, Laudato Si, the importance of care for our human family, our human planet, and of course on these issues on AI.
Yeah. Thanks, Flasik, and I think this probably is all to be related and inserted within the very basic question or issue about even why the Vatican is interested in a forum like this, or bringing economists and all business people together. You know, for a long time, since the 1960s, when the Church held its biggest meeting, the Second Vatican Council, the sense was greatly expressed that the Church should stay closer and closer to humanity, to human society and all, and get interested also in engaging with society about all its challenges and everything. AI at this point in human history happens to be one of these. And just as the Church is so making a reference to the office, I come from Ghana, the office I was invited to the Vatican to handle, it's all about social issues. It's sometimes about economics, it's about finance, it's about ecology, it's about, refugees and migrants and all of this. So all of them just is simply this, that the well-being of the human person must be sought after in all situations and under all conditions. And that also means that where there was a perceived threat or whatever, something to look at. So since my presence in the Vatican, we've done this. We looked at economics and how it serves the well-being. And so we came, Pope Francis, challenged a lot of young people all around the world to come together to figure out the new economics that satisfies the well-being of all of people. So we call it the economy of Pope Francis. Then environment. When right from the first day of his, of his election as a pope, his concern was about ecology. And he invited all of us to exercise custody of creation, well-being of creation and all. And then he came out with this encyclical, Laudato Si, our care for our common home. So with that, again, we felt challenged to also recognize that the world belongs not only to us. We should show some intergenerational solidarity. We inherited this. We need to pass this on, and we cannot deplete it all and pass it on to those who come after us as a desert. So the challenge is also there to be judicious in our use of the resources of the earth so that those who come after us can also benefit. And now it is artificial intelligence. And so the challenge again is, this is a good technology that has been developed, but it's called artificial intelligence. And the first thing is, note that calling this artificial intelligence does not mean that there's an artificial form of human intelligence. That does not exist. Okay, so we call it artificial intelligence simply to draw attention to the fact that it does functions that human intelligence is also able to do. But essentially, it's a product of human intelligence. And once when I ask somebody, for example, about the fact that the brain of the human person with neurons also work with electrical charges, electrical whatever. So why is it that the same thing now working whatever has a bigger speed and all? And the answer I got was that because the human brain has a lot of challenges which slow down the speed of whatever electrical charges can be doing in the brain, concern for others, the health condition of human cells and all of that. So we have this technology which enables us to do a lot of things far faster than the human person can do, and so it becomes essentially a tool. And as a tool in our hands, we need to ensure that it serves the well-being of the human person, does not attenuate its own objectives, but promote it all. So that's the point of the message.
Thank you so much, Your Eminence. Other questions from the audience? Yes, sir. Wait, hold 1 second for the microphone. Thank you.
I'm concerned that artificial intelligence is a way to have less human intelligence and less spiritual intelligence.
Come again, please.
Less spiritual intelligence. And I'm concerned by this fascination for a machine that would be intelligent, even superior to us, even superior to the mystery of life that we are living, So I'm concerned, and I wonder to which extent you can help us address these concerns, not just like praise artificial intelligence and put it everywhere to spend even more energy and to be even more stupid in the way we live together. So can you help me?
So I think the first point is that artificial intelligence is not superior to human intelligence. First thing is to collocate this correctly. And as I said, we call it artificial intelligence. It does not mean that this is an artificial form of human intelligence. That's not what this is. Okay, it does a function of the human intelligence in a way that is faster than the human intelligence does, but it does not replace it. Okay, and so it's the ideal situation is to consider this essentially as a tool. It was created by the human intelligence. It's human beings who created AI. So it's a product of human intelligence, which, however, does not intend to replace human intelligence. And in its function, also shows some limitations that human intelligence has. A generative AI and all of that can make choices, but it does not decide. To decide is to be able to take options, consider moral implications, and decide for this or for that. That is not yet possible for AI. That's why it does not quite replace the function of human intelligence. It's a tool that facilitates certain functions of a human intelligence in a faster way. So that's the thing about the fact that it's intrusive in character, goes into all forms of human life and all of that, in different applications and all of that. The euphoria of having this tool in their hands is to be seen everywhere. It's almost like a child having a new toy, right? So the euphoria of it is discernible. But that's also why here in this forum, there are a lot of groups also discussing how to use it well, so that the human person does not become enslaved to this, but rather is enabled to use this to enhance humanity, to enhance the human person and his goals. So this is the challenge. And therefore, incidentally, this is the message that the Pope addressed to Davos. Last year, in 2024, the Pope came out with another message for peace in the world. That also was related to artificial intelligence and the way that it can promote peace in the world or diminish or whatever peace in the world. So it's used, for example, in an autonomous weapons system. Okay, all of that does not promote peace, but it's possible. It can be used that way. Okay, so all the challenges were drawn up. In an event of election, AI can interfere and manipulate even votes that are cast in elections. So its use is needs a lot of control and guidance from the human society, and that's why the EU is formulating regulations about the use of artificial intelligence. The Vatican itself has also come up with guidelines about the use of artificial intelligence in the Vatican state. So it all requires the guidance of authorities in our society and the world to ensure that it enhances human dignity and human personality and does not diminish it. Does that help you?
Are there questions from the audience? As you think of other questions, maybe I'll come in with a follow-up question, Your Eminence. We are approaching the anniversary of the Holy Father's encyclical focused on the human family. I'd love for you to reflect on the Pope's teachings, his messages on human fraternity, and how you reflect on these messages as we all here gather in Davos from all around the world, from many different faith traditions, and maybe many backgrounds from this beautiful planet of ours.
Yeah, so this encyclical, I think you referred to, has the title Fratelli Tutti, brothers we all are, as it were. And so basically, properly put, will be brothers and sisters we all are. So it doesn't leave out any gender, anybody out of this. So yes, it's an encyclical the Pope came out with. And the focus of that is to appeal to a bond that exists between all of us. So the Pope writing this as a Christian, so Catholic and a Christian, one cannot help but recognize the origin of this. I mean, when in the book of Genesis, for example, the message is that Eve was the mother of all human beings. That just means that the human race has one origin. And when that is the case, then it's not likely that the human population in their diversity, having one origin, have different dignities or different characters. So that would just suggest that human fraternity is a bond that we have from the beginning. That, coming from one origin, so Adam and Eve in that sense, all of us in a way have this bond, this fraternal bond from birth. So the emphasis is on that. This also means that two people cannot come from the same womb and have different dignities. So all human, we have this in the United Nations Charter about all men are whatever. But what is the origin of it? Why can anybody or does anybody affirm that dignity is something that belongs to all? And this probably, if you want, form of expression in the Bible, there is a kind of an answer produced. If we are from the same womb, then clearly we all have the same dignity, the same fraternity bound to us. So the universal fraternity which the Pope affirmed is to draw attention to something that exists and which must become a consideration that we hold in everything that we do. If we are brothers, killing of another human being is a fratricide. It's not just homicide. It's fratricide. You're killing a brother. So it's an act, therefore, that diminishes our own, a sense of human beings, whatever. So it's an appeal to a value, a concept that enables us to rethink a whole lot of issues, a lot of our relational patterns and all of to just make us just conform. So it brings us together, and it's not only the writing of this encyclical that the Pope did, he followed this up with a gesture, a concrete gesture. That's when, true to the name that he took, St. Francis, who in the Middle Ages, in the midst of a war, crossed the border, across the frontier, to go meet the Sultan, Islamic Sultan, to kind of establish relations. So Pope Francis went out of the way to also meet the Muslims in Abu Dhabi. And he met the Grand Imam of Egypt, Al-Azhar University. And there, the two of them signed a document about the same universal fraternity, inviting all to come on board with this recognition that we all belong together because there's a bond of fraternity that unites us. And in that sense, if I may drop a provocative thing, if all of this is true, then my way of looking at things would be, yes, we may all believe in God, but then we come to believe in the human person as a brotherly entity before we even come to religion. And so religion should serve to promote this fraternity and not diminish it. And so when we have the strange case of, people causing violence to one another in the name of religion, it's an abuse of what we are. Okay, so the equation for me is not God, religion, and a human person. No, it's the other way around, because religion is a product of the human person's experience of divinity. That's what produces religion. So first we have God, we have the human person, and then we have religion. And therefore the real function of religion then must serve to promote the well-being of our common brotherhood, a common person and all. Does that help?
I think that's beautiful, and I think one of the things you see from the Pope Francis's teachings is this overwhelming sense of hope.
Yeah.
And that's a message you clearly bring here to the World Economic Forum. This is a special year, a special Jubilee year. Indeed, it's a Jubilee of hope, very much connecting these past encyclicals and statements by the Holy Father. I think part of that hope also applies to unlawful detainees and folks facing justice and challenges. Could you share a bit about the special Jubilee year and this message of hope?
Incidentally, yesterday when we presented this message to Professor Schwab, the title under which we were all invited here to the World Economic Forum was Collaboration, in dealing with artificial intelligence. But Professor Schwab, since we got here in the first day or first meeting he had with the civil society leaders, came out with some other term, which is optimism. Okay, so he's talking about calculated optimism as the term. And wherever he's been to, he's talked about this optimism. So yesterday when we met, I said, I think we can relate the two. So coming with this Jubilee year of hope and optimism, the two belong together. And so I said, therefore, we can promote this optimism that you have and you talk about with our pursuit of this Jubilee of hope. Okay, the hope which does not, in the Christian sense, which does not disappoint, which does not, leave us halfway, just draws our attention to the future, opens up to new possibilities, and the sense of this crafted in the Jubilee year is the fact that Jubilee celebration in Scripture and history has always been an occasion to offer people a new lease on life. If you were a slave before, go free. Start all over again. Whatever you were before, when the Jubilee year comes, you are enabled to start all afresh. So you have a new lease, a new opportunity to do things. Debts are forgiven. Slaves are set free. People have a new possibility of beginning afresh in society. And this, you cannot have any concrete form of experiential hope than this. So start afresh, aim at a new thing, become something different than something else than what you were in the past. And this is the optimism of hope, which I think the professor expresses in this forum, and which we think with our celebration of the Jubilee year, we can support, undergird, and push forward.
Your Eminence, I think that's a beautiful message, linking this constructive optimism from Professor Schwab and, of course, the Holy Father's message of hope. Do you have any last thoughts you'd like to share with this room as we close out this session?
I think I would defer to you if you have any last thoughts. No, but I think so we've been some other. I think we've been. Go ahead.
You talked about guidance. We know that technology is growing at an exponential rate, and often, like with social media companies, we don't have the regulations yet in place to provide the guidance that's required. So the technology is growing at a faster pace than we can know how to really use it or be safe with using it. Do you think the Church, the Vatican, or even other spiritual bodies and leaders can have a role to play in providing that guidance? Like you mentioned that in the Vatican you have already guidance of your own.
Yeah, so yes, already last year in January, as I mentioned, at the beginning of every year, the Holy See comes out with a message which he calls Message for the World Day of Peace. Okay, so it's a message whose content is meant, as it were, at the beginning of the year to provide guidelines or suggestions for how people can make the year a peaceful year. And last year was about artificial intelligence. And it makes the affirmation that artificial intelligence is a piece of technology. It's a product of technology. And incidentally, in other areas of human invention and technological development, there's something that the Holy Pope Francis calls technocratic paradigm. Technocratic paradigm is an expression which he refers to and uses to express the fact that there is the tendency for several people that you can deal with every situation and solve every problem with technology. And that, he says, is false. You cannot, with technology, deal with every situation because there are aspects of the human person which exceed and supersede technological applications. So he says he hopes that the artificial intelligence will not become another technological paradigm. People believing that with this they can deal with almost every situation in life say it's not quite true. So that's the first caution. The first caution then is about that. And then he goes on then to say, therefore, recognize the concrete forms which this can be. And the concrete form, again, is what I observed a short while ago, is looking at the name artificial intelligence. And to disabuse people's minds of the fact that artificial intelligence does not mean an artificial form of human intelligence. Artificial intelligence is just a tool created by human intelligence and requires the guidance always of the human intelligence to promote humanity, because humanity, with its endowed intelligence from creation or from the beginning, is to enable itself to live humanly and to live as a human person or whatever. So every tool that it creates is meant to enhance the living of human life in all its fullness. And that is the recommendation that's also made for artificial intelligence. So you talk about guidelines. Therefore, what guidelines can one have? I know EU is working on guidelines. The Vatican has set up its own guidelines for its Vatican territory, and so presents that as a help for other groups. And when the G20 was meeting in Puglia in Italy a few months ago, the Pope went over there and spilled some of these points of his guidance, okay, to direct whatever. So it's like it's like the Pope not imposing, but gently suggesting, giving guidelines or suggesting points of consideration to whatever nations. This is a very gentle way of doing this. When we ourselves in the Pontifical Academy of the Sciences organized an event on artificial intelligence and the Anthropocene, we had a participant from MIT okay, and an AI specialist. And his thing was bluntly, since in the years when we had cloning became possible, the world community came together and said, do not clone human beings. And that was accepted as a principle, and nobody has ever gone beyond that. So because that was perceived to be a clear threat to humanity, so the world came together and accepted that. So the guy said, why can we not do the same for artificial intelligence? The world community come together and set some red lines which the experimentation of this may not cross. So we're trying to suggest all of this out there.
Your Eminence, it looks like we are running out of time, but on behalf of everyone here in this room and everyone here in Davos, I want to thank you for your time. I would ask you that you pass on our collective thanks to the Holy Father for this beautiful message, for this sense of hope, and indeed for the special Jubilee year. I know myself and so many here are looking forward to our visits to Rome. Thank you so much. Grazie.
Thank you. And thank you all for coming. Thank you. Okay. We can put this back on, right?